In this video, I'll look at IK solvers as part of a rig, and also selecting and linking. This male character has had bones put in for his legs, and I want to put on IK solvers to give him a reverse foot. As I turn him transparent, we can see the bone chains, here shown with a gradient color through his legs. These have been mirrored over using the bone tools. I'll hide the character, right-clicking and choosing Hide Selection. The bones have been sized and fitted into him, and scaled until they match his anatomy. Now I'm ready to put IK solvers on. IKs let us move a child, such as a foot, and have the parent, the leg, follow correctly, instead of rotating the leg from the hip and then the knee. To put an IK chain on, I'll select the bone, in this case bone 2, and choose Animation, IK Solvers. I have a couple of different IK solvers available. HI for history independent, HD for history dependent, an IK limb solver, which is terrific for arms, and a spline IK solver, which is fantastic for tails, ponytails, snakes, and pieces like that. I'll make an HI solver on his leg. Clicking and dragging. Notice I have a drag line from the pivot of the top bone in the IK chain, and I'll put the IK solver down here on his foot bone. 3ds Max now gives me an IK goal at the end and a line showing the connection back to the root. When I pick up the foot, we can see that the knee bends correctly. The foot after the IK goal is still FK, forward kinematic, as it doesn't have any solver on it. For a reverse foot, I'll apply more IKs downstream, selecting his foot and choosing Animation, IK Solvers, HI Solver. I'll bring this forward to his toe bone. Notice I've only added one bone in for his toes instead of 5 articulate toes. This is because he's wearing shoes, and really the shoe needs to just bend at this point, so it makes the skinning easier. I'll land the IK solver up forward and do one more out to the nub. IKs, if we look over here on the Motion tab, have different ways of appearing. There's a swivel angle, and that determines which way it bends. The end effector display can be controlled by showing it off and on, and the size, as well as the goal display. I'm going to make mine a little smaller. Here at 2 it's a little more manageable. I'll pick the one at the heel and do the same, taking the end size down to 3. Now I'll put one more IK on. I'll pick his toe bone and choose Animation, IK Solvers, HI Solver, and put this onto the nub. Again, I'm going to put that goal display down, this time to a size of 1. Now when I pick up his heel IK, his leg bends, but his foot IKs are stuck down to the ground. The point of IKs is to be able to plant the IK and move the rig around it. We plant our feet when we walk and then move our bodies. Now I'm going to link these downstream. Part of rigging is actually distilling the control of the rig down to a place that's easier to animate. In this case, he is a walking rig. I'm going to take this character in the scene and make him walk. So the control needs to be easy to use for making him walk. With my heel IK selected, I'll choose Select and Link. And I'll drag from the heel IK forward to the foot. It flashes briefly and turns off. Now I'll do the same out to the toes. With Select and Link active, I'll pick the ball of the foot IK and go forward, right onto that IK. It flashes briefly, and now I'll see how this works. If I grab his toes and pull them up, his whole foot moves. He can lift his leg nicely as part of walking. If I slide this back, or pull it back like he's extending his leg, I get a natural heel lift. And again, this is typical in bipedal walking. IKs make it easy to animate. What they let us do is plant the foot, rig up a chain so we move the end, the child, and the chain of bones goes with it. We can use IKs in many different places. This is a classic example of a reverse foot. We can also use IK chains on things like unfolding mechanical arms. We'll see them on facial rigs, such as spline IK for eyebrows. We'll also see IKs on arms, and using the swivel angle manipulator to get the elbow to point in the right place. The last thing we'll see on IK chains sometimes are controllers, and this is really a rigging preference more than an absolute. What I'll do is try to separate the rig by class, so that bones are always bones, IK chains are always applied to bones, but the only thing I want to select and move as part of my animation might be shapes, as an example. I'm going to go to Create and Shapes, and I'll put an ellipse down on his foot. I'll move this ellipse and try to get it centered on the ball of his foot. I can rotate it and get it in the right position. I'll go to the modifier panel and make this length a little bit longer, maybe a little bit wider so it's easier to grab, and I'll put it where I need it to go. Now I'll take the IK chain and link it forward to that ellipse. This is an example of a controller object, and again this is a personal preference in rigging. What I've done here, importantly though, is I've distilled the control for his foot down to one object, that for picking up his foot and pulling it back, and I still get the heel lift, all I have to grab is that ellipse. He can even stand in one place and rock side to side just a little bit by rotating it. If I need additional control, I can put in other shape nodes. But more importantly, over in my display panel, I can hide bones, hide helpers, and just pick up that leg by picking the ellipse and moving it around. Once the character is skinned, I've got the control down to the minimum needed to get expressive animation.